Welcome to Alternate 20-minute CSS Masterclass course. In this course, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about the CSS from basics to more advanced concepts. Whether you are a complete beginner or looking to sharpen your skills, this 20-minute deep dive will take you from CSS basics to advanced layout techniques. By the end, you will be styling websites like a pro. Let's get started. If you are new here, make sure to subscribe our channel. What is CSS and why you should care? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. This language is used to style an HTML document. It describes the proper way to display HTML components. Without CSS, the web would look like a boring text document. But with the CSS, we get beautiful, responsive, and engaging designs. HTML is like a skeleton, and CSS is like skin and clothes. The basic syntax of CSS includes of a selector, property, and value. Selector means what to style, like paragraph, header, div, button. Property means what aspect to change, like color, background color, font size. Value, how to change it, red, blue colors, or 10 or 20 pixels. The most common CSS properties are color, background color, font size, margin, padding, and border. Now we understood what selectors, properties, and values are. Now let's jump into the live example of this concept. As you can see on the right, I have created the basic structure of HTML inside the VS Code editor. Now let's create a paragraph element containing the text. This is some text. On the left side, I have opened this code in the Google Chrome browser using live server. Okay, now let's give it some styles using CSS. Our selector is P here, and let's set some properties here, like font size 80 pixel, color red, background color light blue, border 1 pixel solid blue, margin 15 pixel, padding 20 pixel. You now have a better understanding of selectors, properties, and values through this example. Okay, let's move on to the next section. In this section, we are going to learn how to add CSS to an HTML file in 3 different ways: inline, internal, and external. Inline CSS. Inline CSS is used to apply styles directly to a single HTML element using style attribute. Style attribute is added inside the HTML tag. Properties like colors, text color, or background color are set directly. Best for quick fixes, but not scalable for large projects. Internal CSS. Internal CSS is written inside the style tag in the head section of an HTML file. Styles are defined inside style tags. All P or paragraph text on the page will have red text in a light blue background, better than inline for styling multiple elements at once. External CSS. External CSS is the most efficient method. The styles are written in a separate .css file and linked to the HTML file. The link tag connects the HTML file to style.css. Best for large projects, keeps HTML clean and allows global styling. Now you know how to add CSS to HTML in 3 different ways. In this section, we are diving into CSS selectors, specifically tag names, classes, and IDs. CSS selectors help you target HTML elements to apply styles. Let's see how they work with an example. Here, let's create 3 buttons. Button 1, button 2, and button 3. Tag selector. You can style elements by tag name like P, H1, div, button. Alright, now let's select the buttons via tag selectors. Let's set some properties like background color to blue, color white, padding 10 pixel, 20 pixel, border none, border radius 5 pixel, border radius 5 pixel. The tag selector styles all elements of a given HTML tag. As you see, this will make all buttons blue with white text. But what if we want to style just one specific button? That's where classes and IDs come in. Class selector. A class selector or class name styles multiple elements with the same class. For these two first buttons, let's set class to btn. Let's target the buttons element in the CSS file using the class selector btn. Alright, let's give some properties to it like background color to blue, color white, border none, padding 10 pixel, 20 pixel, border radius 5 pixel. As you can see, both buttons with class btn are blue. ID selector. The third one is ID selector. An ID selector styles one unique element. IDs should be used only once per page. Here, I set ID to btn3 for the third button. Good. Now I wanna target the third button with its ID hash btn3. Remember that we always use hash symbol to specify that we are looking for an ID value. Have a look to the buttons. The style of the button with ID only changed here. In this section, you will learn the different way to use colors in CSS, such as names, RGB, RGBA, and hex, color names. The simplest way to use color in CSS is by their names. CSS supports over 140 named colors like red, blue, and purple. First, let's create a header in HTML. Then I'm going to apply CSS color to it. Alright, here you can set the color for header by its name like red, blue, green. Easy, right? But for more control, we have other methods. RGB. RGB stands for red, green, blue. You define a color by mixing these three values from 0 to 255. Adjust the numbers to get any color you want. Let's back to our example. Set color for header to pure blue, 00255. Or pure green, set 02550. RGBA or RGB plus alpha. RGBA adds an alpha or transparency value from 0, which is invisible, to 1, fully visible. For practical example, let's create a button. Okay. Set some properties to it like padding, margin, and background colors, and radius to it. Set border to none to remove the border. Let's use the RGB for shadow here. To create shadow in CSS, we use box shadow property. Set 10 pixel horizontal offset. It moves this shadow 10 pixels to the right of the element. Set 20 pixel vertical offset. Moves the shadow 12 pixels down from the element. Set 20 pixel for blur radius. Now it is time to use the RGBA for shadow color. RGBA 0.7 show the alpha or transparency here. Now let's radius it to 0.5 or radius it to 0.3. Now you can see the difference. The hexadecimal colors, or a compact way to define colors using hexadecimal values. They start with a hash followed by 6 characters. Let's practice on the previous example. Set background color to the button to hash 00FF00 or set it to hash 5F27CD or change it to hash E84393. And that's CSS colors. Okay, see you on the next section. In this section, let's break down the CSS box model. It is a super simple. Think of it like a gift box. It is how every HTML element gets its space on a web page. The first one is content. The content is your actual stuff, like text, image, whatever's inside. Padding. Padding like a bubble wrap. The space around your content inside the box. Border. The box's edge. You can make it thick, dot, or colorful, whatever you want. Margin. The personal space. The personal space outside the box. No crowd. To illustrate the example, I will create a div container. Alright, on the CSS file, let's set the background for it to blue to light blue, border with padding and margin. Okay, let's check this container on our div tools. The div tools is a code inspection tool for a Google Chrome browser. It allows user to examine and modify a web page, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, as well as the other resources. To open it, right on a web page element and select Inspect. Now you can see the container along with the padding, border, and margin that we have set. CSS transition. CSS transitions allows you to change property values like color, size, or position smoothly. Let's create a div with a class of bobs. Alright, now set the width, height, and background for it. Now let's apply a CSS transition to it. Property, what you want to animate, like opacity or background. Duration, how long the animation takes, like 1 second, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, or etc. Timing functions, the style of animation, like is in or linear or etc. As you can see here, when I hover over the box, the background color being changed within half second. CSS transforms. The transform property applies transformations to an element. This property allows you to rotate, scale, move, and skew elements. Let's take a look at a live example. First, we need to create a box div. Now let's switch to the CSS file. For now, let's keep this base styles as they are. Have a look to the transform property using various values. Translate value 10 pixel, 20 pixel. Rotate transform 30 degree. See the skew values. Now see the scale value. Finally see the metric values. CSS animations is used to animate transitions from one CSS style configuration to another. Let's create a div with pulse class. Now let's set some properties to it. All right. Use animation word to create animation. Then give it name. Here I set it to pulse. Set duration for it of 1.5 seconds. Also set iteration count to infinite. Keyframe pulse declares an animation named pulse that we have reused. At 0%, the element is in its original scale. At 50%, the element's scale increases up to 1.3. At the 100%, the element returns to its original scale. Flexbox is a CSS layout system that automatically arranges, aligns, and distributes space between items in a container. Let's create a container with 3 another child divs. Let's move on to CSS file. Okay, for now, let's keep these base styles as they are. Have a look to the container that organizes its items child element in a row or column. Let's set the display to flex. Flex means flexbox. Justify content, control horizontal alignment, distribute space among the main axis. Start items pack at the start and items pack at the end. Center items center horizontally. Space around, equal space around items. Half space at the end. Space between, equal space between items, none at the ends. Space evenly distributes items with equal spacing around them, including at the ends, or equal space everywhere. Align items controls vertical alignment. It is used to distribute space along the cross axis. This dot items stick to the top and items stick to the bottom. Center items center vertically. CSS Grid is a layout system in CSS that lets you arrange elements like divs into rows and columns, just like a table or a chessboard. It gives you precise control over where items set on a web page, making complex design easy. The key features of the grid is two-dimensional. It means controls both rows and columns at the same time. Use a fixed size like pixel or percentage, or flexible units like A4. Gaps in alignment, add space between items and align them easily. Responsive works great for different screen sizes. Let's explore the power of CSS Grid with a hand-on example. We will start by creating a simple container with 3 child elements. Item 1, item 2, and item 3. First, we will give each item a distinct background color to visualize them clearly. To turn the container into a grid, we simply set display grid. Now we define the columns using grid template columns. Let's create 3 columns, each 100 pixels wide. This gives us 3 equal width columns. Grid is flexible. You can easily modify any column. For example, let's expand the third column to 300 pixels. Notice how only the third column grows while the other is fixed. For dynamic layouts, use the FR or fractional unit. Setting the third column to 1 FR make it occupy all remaining space. If we set all columns to 1 FR, they share the available space equally. You can define your rows using create template rows. Setting it to 50 pixels means you create 2 rows, each with a height of 50 pixels. Let's duplicate these divs to see how it works more clearly. Now our grid consists of 3 columns and 2 rows. Next, I will add some gap between the items to improve readability. You can customize the height of each row individually. For example, set the second row to 80 pixels, set the third row to 20 pixels. As you can see, the second row now has a height of 80 pixels, while the third row is 200% height.